Oh, okay, I guess it's on now. We are using the old phone that shouldn't fucking make the video 20 fucking gigabytes. While my phone charges. Still Tuesday. The 10th? What does it say? Yeah. June 10th. Let's start with the one good thing happening on this page. Technically correct setup of tension. If we had any actual fucking reason to be scared of expositors and they were any kind of threat, and assuming we cared about the characters that they're supposed to be a threat to, that they're not actually a threat to. Bashasa said, there's no time for you to hide. Stay where you are, drop your eyes, pretend to be. He doesn't get to finish that sentence because an expositor walked into the court. And by court, it means courtyard. They're in a little courtyard. Are you ready for this? I don't know how loud I have to talk for this phone's microphone to pick me up. Oh. When I set that fan to number 1, I realized that might be loud, if the phone is even picking it up. I need you all to prepare yourselves. Think back, assuming this is not the first video of the series that you're tuning in on. That's a really old phrase. Assuming you're watching the playlist of these videos that I have in order, think back on everything that has happened. All of the bad things that have happened. Think of the bad thing that just happened recently and was brought up again recently. Now, are you ready for page 141 of Witch King? Kai had no idea what he and Dahin were supposed to pretend to be, but they were both small and sitting on the ground playing with dead leaves like children, so he went with that. So Martha Wells first sets up that Kai is factually a child in the body of a child. He is in the body of a child because he is a child. And they wanted, for some fucking reason, to match his age to the body he was in, despite it later saying that they don't do that, except they do. They do.
And he's going to age.
And this body will not age while Kai will, because his mind is aging. He's getting older as a person. He's maturing. That was established very clearly multiple times in multiple ways. Dialogue, narration, the way other characters are treating him when he is a child. That's all in the past, some unspecified amount of time in the past. We're still in the past timeline, but there has been some kind of time skip. 0 hints of how long that time skip is. It could be a few days. It could be months. It could be years. There's literally no way to know because there's anything at all to tell us. On page 100, Martha Wells tried to backtrack on the pedophilia that she explicitly went out of her way to set up. Nobody was holding a gun to her head and said, you gotta make this pedophilic. You have to do pedophilia. Nobody made her do that. She decided of her own free will to make the Native American people pedophiles who are sex trafficking children for a eugenics program. Nobody made her do that. Martha Wells chose to do this. Then on page 100, she decided to backtrack away from the pedophilia and say, actually, Enna, the name of the girl whose body Kai is in, who died, could possibly have been murdered for all we fucking know. Actually, she wasn't a child. She was just a little short. Not really short. Not like legitimately in the disabled sense, short of stature, like a dwarf. or a little person. Not that. Just a little short. Martha Wells says on page 100 of this book, trying to backtrack away from the pedophilia that's explicitly pedophilia, that she set up on purpose to be pedophilia for no fucking reason, besides whatever fucked up reasons she has for thinking pedophilia is good and fine. And now on page 141, she's saying that, again, after trying to backtrack and pretend that she didn't make it explicitly clear that Kai was a child put into the body of a child because he's a child, she tried to say, oh, no, Anna, that body is fully grown. It's not a child's body. It's just a little short. And now, on page 141, Kai had no idea what he and Dahin were supposed to pretend to be, but they were both small and sitting on the ground, playing with dead leaves like children. So he went with that. I am 5'2". I'm small. Nobody's going to mistake me for a small child. People think I'm 16 because I'm short and I guess I don't wear makeup, but nobody's going to confuse me for a small child. Nobody's...
implies like toddler or below middle school.
Small youth means like little kid, like 10 or less. 10 at like absolute maximum or something. That's... So she sets up that it's pedophilia explicitly. Treats that as perfectly fine. Goes out of her way over and over and over again for 99 pages to make it clear that Kai is a child who was put in the body of a child specifically because he is a child, and they were matching his age with the body he was in, which could be fine, except for the part where that body doesn't age, and he has been sex trafficked into a eugenics program, so he would be expected to get pregnant because he was put into the body of a female child. Expected as a child, in the body of a dead child that will never age, to get pregnant and produce half-demon babies. It's literally sex trafficking children into a eugenics program, and it's presented as totally fine. And then we get told that the Native American coded people doing this got genocided for that reason. Because Martha Wells is racist and thinks that if she says that the Native American coded fantasy brown people that she made up, if she says they're the ones doing the pedophilia, that means it's okay. And if you say it's not okay, that means you're a real racist, even though she's a white woman writing this shit. And now, then she tried to backtrack on page 100 after, or maybe that was before, now I'm getting confused. She tried to backtrack because in this past timeline, she wants to say that there's some kind of intimate relationship, most likely a sexual relationship, given Martha Wells' history of writing, between Kai and this fully grown adult Bashasa. But as far as we know, Kai is still a child at this point, and we know for a fact that he is in the body of a child, despite her attempts to backtrack away. Because no, you don't literally get to make it so clear that this is a child, and then say, actually, no, she's a fully grown adult. She's just a little short. Being a little short does not equal everybody in your community who has raised you from a baby to consider you to be a small youth. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. It is bad writing. It is retconning. And now after that attempt at retconning away the pedophilia to say it's totally fine because she's clearly going to want Bashasa and Kai to be in a sexual relationship, but she also doesn't want people to think of Bashasa as a pedophile, which is what he is if he's going to be getting into a relationship with Kai in the body Kai is in, which is Enna's, a fucking little girl. That's gonna be pedophilia. And we have no sense of how much time has passed. Kai could literally still be a child himself at this point, which is also pedophilia. If Enna's, something happens to Enna's body so that Kai is suddenly in the body of an adult, if Kai is a child, it's still going to be pedophilia. Nobody threatened Martha Wells' life and told her she has to write it like this. This is not a historical document. We're not doing Galaxy Quest here, guys. And the whole point of Galaxy Quest is that it was fiction and not true. And that the people were fucking confusing it for historical documents. These aren't historical documents. These aren't documentary. These aren't diary entries from an alternate universe that came through a fucking wormhole. Martha Wells is a white woman, a racist white woman, who just made this shit up and is presenting pedophilia as totally fine and tells us that the Native American coded people were genocided for making deals with demons, a thing they literally did do. And now on page 141, after trying to backtrack on the pedophilia, she is once again confirming to us that Kai looks like a fucking child. A small child playing with dead leaves on the ground because he is in the body of a fucking child. And we have never been given any hints of how old Dahin is supposed to be. With the way he was acting and the way the adults in the room were treating him, I was assuming he was also a fully grown adult. But who fucking knows? He's apparently the same size as Kai, who is in the body of a fucking child. And looks like a child, so I guess he is also a child. With no hints of that at all, because this is horribly fucking written. Martha Wells thinks that if she just keeps telling us that men are wearing skirts, it'll mean she's not a trans-hating bigot. It doesn't make a fucking difference. Page 142. We have succeeded in turning a fucking page. We managed to get to page 143. She's trying to be deep and meaningful, and it's not working. Then the expositor, Kai has to not let the expositor see his completely solid black eyes, or he'll realize he's a demon. Blah, blah, blah. They're trying to lie. Blah, blah. Then the expositor reached down and put 2 calloused fingers under Kai's chin to lift his chin to look at his face. This is the part where she's trying to do something. It's not working. Something in Kai's brain went white and still, like a light filling him up. It should have felt like rage, but it was too big for that. Too big to name, too much to feel all at once. Just say, terror shot through him like a lightning bolt. What is this shit? We've managed to turn to page 144. Kitty cats, you don't need to do that. No. Come sit with me. You don't need to knock over the trash can. You don't bite into a ripe pomegranate, but whatever. The pomegranate is the one fruit you don't bite into.
She doesn't know what a pomegranate is.
So instead of... So we're now just being told that Kai as a child, presumably as a child, still a child. We don't know. We have literally no fucking clue. No way to know how much time has passed since the first time visit to the past timeline. He has no other choice. I mean, there's many other choices, but we're not going with any of those other choices. He decides to grab the expositor's wrist before he can see his eyes and try to drain his life. Kai had never faced anyone or anything who could fight back like this before. It was an intoxicating challenge. He enjoys the fact that the person whose life he's trying to drain is fighting back. But we're supposed to pretend that demons, there's nothing at all scary about them. They're just innocent, poor, oppressed minorities, even though they enjoy it when their victims fight back. They enjoy the helpless struggling of their victims as they suck them dry like vampires. But yeah, they're just exactly like oppressed minorities. The very last paragraph on this page 144 is, Kai pushed forward with everything, felt Enna's body go numb, felt his head swim. Then Cantenios' power gave way with a sensation like biting into a ripe pomegranate. A pomegranate is the one fruit you don't bite into. You open it with your hands and then scoop the stuff out. You don't bite into a pomegranate. Like, you could have that be a thing if he felt the guy's power give way. Period. Once Kai had bitten into a pomegranate, not realizing that was the wrong way to eat a pomegranate, only to be bewildered and alarmed by everything that why you don't bite into a pomegranate. But no, it's just like biting into a pomegranate, a thing you're not supposed to do.
Biting into a pomegranate implies a really bad mouthfeel texture.
You'll probably have to talk louder because this is the old phone.
If you're biting into a pomegranate and you're describing a sensation like biting into a pomegranate, that implies that you've got this hard, crunchy, bad mouthfeel followed by a rush of tart juice, but overpowered by the acrid bitterness of the pith that's not eaten for a reason.
Mm-hmm. We're now on page 145. We've succeeded in reading more than one page. That's so funny. That's so funny. That's so funny. That's funny. Martha Wells is bringing back the word chimera. She's bringing back the word chimera.
As an illusion thing?
Yep, presumably. Page 145, near the end. The plan has been ruined by this guy showing up unexpectedly and now being dead. Ziti stepped over the bleeding body of a legionary, her brow knit in consternation. I can weave a chimera, ... but someone will come looking for them, ... In Wolf Night by Martha Wells, an absolutely terrible story that you can read for free online. It was published in 2006. I think it's on Lone Star. I can't remember. Just Google Wolf Night by Martha Wells. It's literally free to read online because she posted it online. She submitted it to a free online magazine in 2006. So it's free to read. Go read it. You can suffer along with me. You'll see where I'm talking about chimera. But again, for this at least, I stopped using my check marks. I think that counts as 34 because I know what she's trying to say with the uselessly shitty word chimera in this context because I read her uselessly shitty story Wolf Night. It's supposed to be an illusion spell because Martha Wells she's like literally the meme of the high schooler who has to do an essay. So to make themselves sound smart, they go through their document and right click and go to synonyms drop down and just pick whatever synonym they think sounds smarter. So that's what Martha Wells has been doing this whole book, and she's been doing for her whole writing career as far as I can tell. She thinks she's too good to just say a spell, a magic spell. She's too good to use the word cyborg, and there's more reasons why she refuses to use the word cyborg. But ultimately it's because she thinks that if she uses words that nobody else is using to explain basic concepts, like a fucking cyborg, and insisting upon calling a cyborg a bot human construct, she thinks that makes her clever and smart and makes her writing more deep and meaningful. She thinks that if she says chimera instead of illusion spell, that makes her writing deep and meaningful. There's a word for this. It's called pretentious. Her writing is pretentious. She's being pretentious. Also, why is Ziti saying, I could weave a chimera, aka illusion spell? There's Eclipsy in the background. Oh, he's just going to curl up there. If you sit right here, you can be in the camera. If you sit right here. He said no. He doesn't want to be on camera. So what was the point in Ziti saying, I can weave a chimera, which in Martha Wells speak, pretentiousness, thesaurus means an illusion spell. I can weave an illusion spell, but somebody will come looking for them, then what is your illusion? What is the illusion spell that she's offering to do going to do exactly if it's not going to stop people from coming to look for them? Is she not offering to make an illusion to pretend that these guys are still alive? What is she offering to make a chimera of? For? Who knows? Who the fuck knows? We will never know, because Bashasa's like, no, we're just doing shit. On page 146, we've succeeded in turning a page. A goddamn miracle with this book. Blah, blah, blah. Page 146. Kai couldn't believe Bashasa was touching him after what he had just seen, because he put a hand on Kai's shoulder. With Ken... You don't need to know his name. Oh, I guess I'll tell you his name. Just so you see how many useless names are in this book. With Cantenios' body a desiccated heap at their feet. But there was nothing in Bashasa's face except grim purpose. Something in it made Kai believe anything was possible. On page 147, we've succeeded. We've succeeded in turning a page. I wish there were some way to keep track of how many people have ever started reading this book and where they stopped, because the majority of people who don't finish a book are not going to open Goodreads to say, I didn't finish this. And now we get a tiny bit more of what could have been world building, but it's already useless because at the end of page 146, they're all running off to go do stuff, including some of the people running off to free the rest of the demons in the Cageling Demon Court. At the end of page 146, a random servant ran after them and said, "Hey, wait, fourth prince, here, take this with you." And then handed him a bundle of stuff. And then she's like, for chains, and then just makes scissor cutting motions, because she doesn't speak the language very well. Alright, yeah, that explains it. These are the tools that they're going to use to cut free the demons with their magical chains that enchain them. And then page 147, Kai runs to catch up with everybody else. And then Taren glanced down at the tool in Kai's hand. That's for making blessed armor. The blades are well-born steel. It's what we use to get you out. And it's like, okay, we know that. Servant lady just said that in those two simple words, for chains, and then made scissor motions. We don't need it again. We don't need to get the exact same explanation twice. Okay, we've gotten to chapter 7. Page 148. And we're back in the... See, this is what's annoying about badly done stories that switch between two different timelines, or even just two different characters. Right as things get interesting, we just skip back to the future, where nothing is happening. And I presume nothing will continue to happen, and they will just sit around on this stupid fucking boat, talking about the plot instead of doing the plot. Literally, Martha Wells We were literally just about to go do the actual story, which means, and this means that we will probably never actually get to see them rescue the other demons from the Cageling Demon Court, which is just a completely absurd name. I have to stress that. I can't stress that enough. Cageling Demon Court. It's just, that is a stupid fucking name. I'm going to write it on my arm. Unless it'll let me, will it actually let me focus with this phone maybe? Cageling Demon Court. No, it won't. So I won't bother. Cageling. That's one word. Cageling. As though there's baby cages. Like a cageling. We never get any explanation for that at all. And this, now that we are going back to the present timeline, this probably means that we will be entirely skipping past freeing the other demons from the Cageling Demon Court. So we will never actually get to see Kai interact with what we could be considering his people, because he is a demon, they are demons. So, yeah. And again, now since that's reminding me that witch from right before everybody got genocided, that was described with they them pronouns, it means that that's not even a non-binary character. So there's literally 0 non-binary characters in this book so far, because I was presuming that meant that character was non-binary. But now when Martha Wells decided to introduce Dahin by just randomly referring to him with they them pronouns and referring to him as a person, despite the fact that we already know he is a dude. It's not like he's trans and wasn't out yet then. We've known he's a dude the whole time. So that means that now, and everybody else, their genders just get assumed and then are just correct. So now that she decided to randomly, for no reason, literally no logical reason at all, just use they them pronouns only for him, and then he is a dude, means that that witch that was being referred, who has no name because they died, who was also referred to with they them pronouns before dying, like literally just it existed for less time than Dahin was getting used they them pronouns for. That means that's not even a non-binary character. That means that's probably just another binary cis character. So Martha Wells, with that little bullshit, pretending to be progressive, pretending is all it is, means that that's retroactively not even a non-binary character. We can't even say that. So there's not a single non-binary character in this book. 149 pages in, published in 2023, pretending to be all totally a book for trans people. Because basic shit. But no trans people, no non-binary people. Chapter 7. Let's try and fucking read this shit. And I can't even get past the first sentence before having to complain. As the sky brightened with dawn, Kai stood out on deck with a cup of hot ginger water, while the others were still inside eating. A. That's called ginger tea. B. Where's ginger coming from? Is this a fake Earth? Is this an alternate timeline for Earth where all the continents are different but plants are still the same? 3. Why is he able to ingest water? Water's supposed to hurt him, except for when it doesn't. He shouldn't be eating it. I can excuse him eating meat and stuff. Maybe even fruit. I could excuse him just eating plain ginger. We could say that the plants take in the water and animals take in the water and they convert it, and that changes the essence of the water, so it's not technically like the water that hurts demons anymore. No. He's drinking a cup of hot ginger water. That's called tea. That's called ginger tea. It's not ginger water. You don't put fucking tea leaves in a thing and call it tea water. It's tea. That's ginger tea. And why is he drinking water? You can put that in the Discord. Let's continue reading the infuriating bullshit. I don't give a fuck. We're still on the first paragraph. In the bow cabins, the cadre had made a millet porridge, and Ramad had sent some to the upper deck, period. Despite the fact that they seemed to have a truce arrangement, Tenez and Zidi had both tested the food for poison. I'm assuming that the only reason Tenez is mentioned there is so that we remember that she and Sanja, who hasn't been mentioned yet, exist as the little kids following the protagonist around with less narrative weight than a dog, so that we can pretend that this is a found family story because there's children who have no personality who exist. And I had drawn that. It's on my arm. It's not on my arm anymore. But before I forget about Tenez, the familiar, Martha Wells went out of her way to tell us that the reason the witches use sign language instead of a verbal language is because if they get captured as familiars, they get their voice stolen, so they can't talk verbally. And then another character was like, that doesn't sound right. And then Kai was like, they used to chop off their hands too. And it's like, that doubly doesn't make sense. Why did they stop doing that then? Because it seems to me that besides Tenez being very implied to have also been a sex slave, considering she is a child who was very explicitly stated to be barely dressed, wearing gauzy silks, barely fucking dressed, implied you can see everything, implied to be a sex slave. It seems that the familiars, the only thing they do is like tie their pool of magic to the person who has enslaved them, so that I presume as the familiar is just eaten and being alive, that their magic just regenerates slowly. So it seems, I'm guessing, I'm using logic here, and I know that's kind of
dangerous.
That's it's not gonna work for this book, because logic would dictate that drinking water would kill Kai. Logic would dictate that being in a boat over the ocean should mean that Kai has no access to magic at all, because that's what we established in that first little back in time thing. Logic, the thing that I should not trust in this book at all, seems to be saying that the point of a familiar is that you get an whole entire extra person's worth of magic to use that will just slowly regenerate because they're alive. So you can just use their magic whenever you want, and then they'll just regenerate, and then you can just take it again. Seems to be the purpose. So if this guy, we're told, erased all of her memories from before he enslaved her on this boat in particular to stop her from spreading any secrets, and he supposedly stole her voice to stop her from spreading secrets, then why didn't he also chop her hands off? Because the whole point of stealing her voice was to stop her from speaking. But he knows that she speaks sign language, so why didn't he chop her hands off? That's the question anybody with any kind of logical thinking is going to be asking. Anybody who would be writing this book themselves is going to be asking. And I will tell you the answer. It's because Martha Wells hates physically disabled people. That's it. That's the reason. The reason Tenez still has both of her hands, and the reason the bad guys stopped chopping off witches' hands for some fucking reason. No reason at all. Just some reason. Like, not even because you could do a thing where, like, the amount of body parts you have is, like, it's connected to how much magicka you have access to. That's been a thing in multiple magic systems, even just in general. You could, especially, like, if we're tying magic to blood or something. If you got surface area in a hand, you got blood in a hand, you got your life essence running through your hand. all that shit. You could say that they decided to stop chopping their hands off because the loss of potential magic that they'd gained from the familiar was being lessened to enough of a degree by the loss of both fucking hands. A lot of fucking shit going on through there. How many cells are in a hand? I don't even know. We could say magic is tied to all this shit. I shouldn't have to do Martha Wells' job for her, but I'm doing it. Could say they stopped chopping off their hands. Somebody had came up with that idea at first, but then realized that the amount of magic you are losing access to by doing that is not worth the risk that they'll tell secrets. And like, what secrets are they gonna do? Just don't monologue your evil plans when your servant is in the room. That's all you gotta do. It's not like anything. But instead of giving any explanations like that, basic explanations that would make sense and would be actual world building, instead we just get told they stopped doing that for some reason, specifically just so that Tenez can keep both of her hands. Because Martha Wells is ableist and hates physically disabled people. That's why Kai can magically heal any injury at all. Especially because now we know that he can at least restore energy taken from a specific thing that he's taken out of it. So he could, in theory, if we pretend that Sanja's broken toes, we could pretend here that poor Sanja walking around on broken toes this whole time. We could pretend anybody gives a fuck about her. In theory, he could drain the life force from her broken toes and then send it back in to fix her broken toes. That's in theory, with what was just established with the actual tiny scrap of fucking world building that was finally going on page 139 through 140 before it was interrupted. In theory, that could happen. But, nah. So, this is why Kai has the ability to heal anything. In theory, including Sanja's broken toes, but Martha Wells forgot she said that and didn't plan to say that before she said it because she's bad at writing. She's ableist. We can't have a character who has no hands, because then she would be physically disabled and that would be bad. So that's why they don't cut off their slaves' hands anymore, even though they go through all the effort of making them not be able to speak a language that they can understand, because presumably the slavers don't speak the sign language. I don't know about you guys, but it may in fact be kind of helpful, maybe even crucial sometimes, to be able to have your slave give you information. But, Martha Wells isn't going to use any logic because this book is getting sold for $28.99 at full price in the US and $38.99 at full price in Canada. She doesn't need to write anything, even trying to use logic, basic common sense. She doesn't need to write well, because Tor Publishers, whoever the fuck, did they say that on here? Yeah, Tor Publishing Group, New York. The camera's on the other side. Tor Publishing Group, at Tor.com. They don't give a shit about quality. They just want to publish whatever racist, literal, pedophilic shit they can get their hands on that they think will make them money. They don't care about quality. They don't care about bigotry. They don't give a shit. They just want money. And so does Martha Wells. Alright, let's see if we can actually read page 149 past that first goddamn.
Pause the video for a second.
Hold on. Okay, I had to pause the video quick. Okay. We'll see if we can continue reading chapter 7 and get past the first paragraph. Oh, no, phone, don't fall over. Come on. Cooperate. They're finally seeing land in the distance. They're seeing a coastline in the distance. Finally, on page 148. we've successfully gotten to page 149. Hashem has brought a map forward and said there is a place nearby where the people who are still enslaved and enchanted into the torture sleep, crammed into benches that are meant for 2 people and 6 fully grown adults are crammed into them, says there's a place nearby where the cohort, and again, this is Martha Wells doing a thesaurus. Bullshit. The word cohort is fine. Using it as a proper noun, like this, it's just irritating. It's not clever. It's just pretentious and annoying.